small town called Middletown, Missouri, up in Montgomery County. A little bit since I'm into the new blood and the challenger in Missouri's 3rd District for the congressional race. First thing is, obviously, you guys know that the district has been kind of messed up a little bit, but luckily Mary stayed with us in the 3rd. We lost Lincoln, we lost Southern Warren, we lost Franklin, but we gained, we retained, I should say, part of St. Charles County, the kind of that sliver between the rivers. We retained Warren County north of I-70, then Montgomery, Callaway stayed with us. We gained Southern Boone, which is an interesting place to campaign. Cooper County came over, Montauk County, we've been out there for three times. Did the Lincoln Days a few weeks ago there. Then we've still got, in Missouri's 3rd, we still got the northeast corner of Camden County down there by the lake. I got to be on KRMS radio down there. The people of the lake are they're a wild bunch. Really good questions. If you go to the Facebook, it's posted on there, so definitely give that a listen to. JR on the KRMS morning show. Got to talk to him for about an hour. Then we've got Osage, Cole, and Mary's, Miller, and then the 2 new ones we've also got is Crawford and Washington, as well as Gasconade. And then we retain the western, like 3/4 of Jefferson. So before I go into my resume, one of the things we like to stress on our campaign is that this is about getting you and Missouri's 3rd a return on their investment. Because as I run through the last 23 years and how I got here, one thing you have to remember is the vast majority of it you've already paid for. You paid for my school, you paid for my training, you paid for my weapons, you paid for my operations overseas, you paid for my shoulder surgeries when I got hurt overseas, you've paid for my vehicles, you've paid the $50,000 a month in berries that they were buying, the federal government was buying at my last military base out in Syria. And part of me coming home and part of this campaign is opening people's eyes to what's going on behind that curtain. Most people, especially in Missouri or anywhere, don't get to actually see behind the curtain and see how this cheddar is made and see why our hometown, when we were growing up in it, had 300 people in it, and now it's got 150. My education especially, I'm very privileged that I got to study where I got to study. I got to study what I got to study. And I tell people all the time that I'm probably the luckiest Marine you're ever going to meet, because truck in front of me gets blown up, truck behind me gets blown up. I haven't been blown up. I haven't been shot. And I know a lot of guys that would be better congressmen than I, but they've been rocked so many times overseas that they're just kind of not there anymore. So in 1998, I graduated from Wellesley Middletown up there. Did a semester at Mizzou. I was going to be a naval submarine officer, or so I thought. I was in engineering. I was bored out of my mind, so what does a guy do? Joins the Marine Corps, because my parents were Air Force, so of course I'm going to join the Marine Corps. Made it to reconnaissance, which is a special operations branch of the Marine Corps. September 11, 2001 was my 21st birthday, so nobody forgets that anymore. My platoon went straight into the AFPAC theater, came home, went to 1st Force Reconnaissance Company, did the invasion of Iraq, got out of the Marines in 2007, honorably. Went to work for a little company called Blackwater, and for the next about 15 years or so, after I formed my own LLCs and subcontracted with the Federal Leviathan, I did operations in some of the world's worst places, including Washington, D.C. So I think we were talking earlier about my 2 years experience with the federal beast in D.C., but I hated it. It's the federal Leviathan is largely a scam now. And the reason that I came home and ran this year was it's hard to come home and want to take over the family farm, but lumber costs 3 times as much. Half the town's gone. It's hard to know the things I know because you guys paid for my education in economics and central banking, that every day when you see the administration get up there and say, well, blame the gasoline store or blame the grocery store or blame anyone you can see, that really the reason prices are up all across the board is because the federal government is borrowing money into existence and you get to pay it off. It's like having a no-limit credit card that you get to pay off. And the thing that really has kicked me into this race is it's going to accelerate. This is the start of a hyperinflationary cycle. You're even competing against the federal government for your gas. The federal government's going to get their gas. Okay, if it's $8, $12, $15, they're going to put it on your credit card and then you're in direct competition with them for it. They're going to get their food for the 8 or 9 active engagement zones we're in across the globe. I know, because I've been there. So at some point, either it's going to break or we're going to have to send someone to DC that's not politically connected, that has seen the beast, though, and understands what we're doing. So I tell people a lot of time jokingly that I'm trying to channel my inner Donald Trump here, because what was Donald Trump if not Middle America just rolling a stick of dynamite into the halls of the DC establishment and saying, we're done with this. We need something new. We need something better. The thing that has really kicked me into this race this year, though, and I told my hometown about this, was I came back from Afghanistan, last year, got out a week before Kabul fell, and come home and get a job offer to head over to Eastern Europe. And something just hit me that said, no, not again, And I talk a lot about the 20 years that I've spent, overseas, but also about the trillions of dollars that we've wasted. And that's what Afghanistan really kind of, the facade fell there. Like, we know now why we were there for so long. We won that war within 6 months. We were there for 20 years to keep housing prices in the DC bubble inflated. And that is a tragedy, because we lost 3,500 or more people over there, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, and more than just the people who didn't make it home, the people that came home messed up, maimed, missing limbs. And to see that starting up again, that is probably the one or two or maybe 4 or 5 policy problems, but that is the main one I have with the incumbent right now. Is I could not believe that he had voted for that $40 billion to the Ukraine slush fund, I call it, because we do remember those people. So that's me. Somebody has to tame this DC dragon. Somebody has to go in there on your orders to stop feeding it so much, because if we don't, it's just going to burn everything down. So Missouri, I am your son, and I've come home, and I'm asking you to send me to one more battlefield.